All right, welcome to the Notary Apps and Biometrics. We try to do these events every other Thursday to try to keep everybody mind sharp who's doing notary work. Notary work is a lot like, I have a friend that's a tree cutter, and I was talking to him, and he was saying years ago he used to cut trees, at least 60 trees a month, and he was doing that, and he's working hard, and then now he's only getting to do about 10 trees a month, and that's the same kind of situation that notaries who's been in the business for a long time, they find themselves in the same type of situation. I talk to notaries that's been in business 15, 20 years, and they say, Daniel, I'm not getting any business. Business is so slow. I don't understand it. And then I talk to notaries that have been in the business 2, 3, 4 years, and they tell me, oh man, I am getting killed on business. I can't keep up with all the business I have. And I'm trying to figure out what's the difference? The person that's been in business longer, they have more contacts, they've been doing the business longer. What is the big difference there? And the difference is that the new notaries that's coming into the business, they're coming to the meetups, they're coming to events like this, they're going to conferences. I'm seeing them at the meetups exchanging information. They're talking to title people, they're talking to realtors, and they're getting more contacts out. In other words, they're sharpening their saw. That's the thing that tree cutter wasn't doing. He wasn't sharpening any of his saws. He was just cutting trees down without sharpening his saw. And the same premise goes to notaries who's doing this business. They have to sharpen their focus on their business and really use everything in their arsenal, social media, these type of things, these type of podcasts, exchanging information, networking, getting referral partners in order to have a high quality business. Now, this particular subject matter, the way we're going to handle things tonight is we're going to talk a little bit about notary apps. I'm not going to go into every notary app out there, but we're going to open it up to we're going to cover some notary apps that might just pique your interest. Say, hey, you know what? I didn't think about that app to use. And hopefully some people will actually contribute and say, well, you know what? I see all those apps you're talking about, Daniel, but I even have some other apps that I might not have on my list here. And we'll open it up to questions. There's some housekeeping things. If everybody can keep themselves muted really quick, and we'll get a chance to unmute you, or you can unmute yourselves and ask a question. Or if you have a really pending question, please feel free to put it in the chat, and I will try to answer that question. We did have one question in here. I see Alana Rivera. She has a question. What is a title producer's license? Great question, Lana. Title producer's license in some states like Indiana and Maryland, notaries who want to do real estate transactions in that state, they have to have, it's an insurance license. The state makes us that as a requirement to have an additional license with our notary commission. The reason for that is that in some states you might not have that requirement, but some title companies in your states, if you don't have that requirement, would say, I'm going to use notary contractors, but I can't use them if there's any kind of money that has to exchange hands, because any money that's exchanging hands should be handled by someone who's has that type of credential, or title producer's license, if you will. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, and Cheryl asked, is that same as a signing agent? A signing agent, notary signing agent, is someone that handles real estate assignments. And in those states like Indiana and Maryland, the signing agent, you can't be a signing agent without having a title producer's license. And I think in Virginia, they don't, and hopefully somebody can correct me. I have a lot of friends in Virginia, but they don't allow, most of the title companies don't allow notaries to handle that type of transaction that has money that exchange where the notaries have to collect a check or something like that, or checking a certain amount without having a title producer's license. Hopefully I answered. Let me see if there's any other questions. Nope, this is not Indiana only, Cheryl. This is for notaries all around the country with this particular topic. And I want to welcome everybody here. So let me just get into this particular topic. First, we're going to cover notary apps, and then we're going to cover biometrics and how that affects the notary industry. And I have a special guest with that. But let's talk about notary apps. The reason why I want to talk about notary apps is because it's so important. This is something that slips through the cracks with notary business owners. And this is a quote I got from my good friend from Maryland, Donnell Smith. He says, notaries who fail to embrace technology will be left behind. And that is so true. If you're a traditional notary, or if you've been doing notary work for a while, you have to have certain apps. I would highly recommend, first of all, having a smartphone. And then I'm going to be talking about some of the apps on the phone. And I do a lot of meetups myself, where in meetups, professional meetups is where I invite notaries to come into my office. They can come in my office, and then we exchange business cards. We invite like tax people to come in. We invite title people to come in. We invite the Department of Insurance. I have invited a director of the Bureau of Motor Vehicles to come in and talk about IDs, and we exchange business cards like that. And I hear this happen at a lot of those meetups. People, notaries that have done closings, real estate closings, for example, and they have what they call scan backs, where they have to scan a certain amount of documents back and send it to the title company. Has anybody ever heard of that? You can put yes in the chat of doing that, scan backs, what they call scan backs. Yes, people said they've heard of scan backs. And they go to if you're like me, as soon as you get the documents, you get them signed, you scan them, and you go right to the FedEx or UPS store, and you want to drop those documents as quickly as possible to go on to your next assignment. And I've heard this happen to notaries across the country. They're at the UPS store, they already did the scan backs at home or in the office, and they're about to send those documents back. They get a call from the title company, and the title company says, hey, we got your scan, but we're missing one page. We're missing the signature page of the note, or we're missing the signature page of the mortgage, or something like that. And all we need is that one page. And if you don't have this next app this first app that I'm gonna show you, it can be a real problem. A lot of people have to go back home and try to rescan the package again, and this is a big inconvenience. But this is first app I'm going to talk about is this one. Let me see if I can change the page. Tiny Box or Tiny Scanner. And some people may have this particular app on your phone. You can get these apps on at the Apple Store or Android Store or wherever you can get these apps. But this is a great app. I use this app all the time, at least 3 or 4 times a week, because I do a lot of general notary work. I do real estate assignments, but this app works tremendously with your business. And the way you use it is in that situation that I mentioned, that if you miss scanning a document, just one page of a document, you can take your phone out and just scan that document, send that document in. It allows you to scan it and email it to whoever you need to email it to. It's a great app, and I use this app in fact, this app has helped me just in general notary work, along with this next app that I use, Tiny Fax. Tiny Fax and Tiny Scan, these two work hand in hand. I'll tell you how I use this and how I upgrade my service compared to other notaries in my area. I do a lot of hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living, rehabilitation centers, and in that I do a lot of powers of attorney. Doing the power of attorney documents, a lot of times the people that's getting the power of attorney documents, they want that because they have to send it to the bank, they want to send it to another relative, they want to send that power of attorney once it's signed to somewhere, a cousin, in across the country. So I scan it in their hospital room. Let's just go back, see if I can go back. I scan it with the tiny scanner, that document, and then I email it, or sometimes the bank wants it faxed to them. So we fax it right there from the hospital room. And of course, that's an upcharge you can charge your particular client. Let me see, I think I have some feedback. Let me see if I can get that cleared up. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Yeah. So hopefully these two and the tiny scanner and the tiny fax, I work hand in hand, use those all the time in my business. A lot of times, businesses, like I said, we have a lot of meetups. I do a lot of meetups, and a lot of people talk to a person that was, as a business owner, you have to log your mileage. This is just one way. There's a lot of apps out there to help you log your mileage. This is one I use all the time because it allows you to log both your personal miles and your business miles. You can differentiate which one, and this works so well with being a notary signing agent, especially if you're a traditional notary that goes out to do a lot of assignments. I use Miles IQ. Of course, this is on the Apple store also. You can also use, my understanding, some other apps that I might not have mentioned here or have in my PowerPoint, like Notary Act, which is a notary journal that you can use that will help you with that. Notary Assist, that's a very popular one that may help you with your mileage. And also Notary Gadget, another one that helps you, but I use myself Miles IQ. And no, you can use these. These are not only for the iPhone, John. These, you can use these for, I've seen people with Android phones that use these apps too. So yes, you can use these apps in the same way with other. Oh, the last one I stated with that was Notary Gadget will help you with your mileage, and also Notary Assist can also help you with calculating your mileage with that. Hopefully, that. Next one, I also have used now. Like I said earlier, we have an online apostille class, and that's where you're talking with people from other countries, and sometimes you get people to come in that needs apostille work where they need to send some paperwork to another country. They speak English, but sometimes people come in and there's a form or there's a word they can't really, they can say it in their language, but they can't say it in English or a way that you understand. You can use this app. I've used this app where they say the word in their language and then it'll translate for me. It's a translation app that you can use. And not only this app, but if you know of any other translation apps that you can use, I've seen people use those and they've been much better than they were several years ago. So in our country, we actually have people from so many different cultures, and sometimes they do speak English that you don't understand. Sometimes you can use this translation app that works well to help you with your communication with your customers. So I use this also. I have this also on my in my field. Weather app. I use the weather app, and and a lot of people say, well, I'm a notary. What would I use the weather app for? If you're a notary and you go all over the place, like 2 hours, 3 hours away, and just give you an example, last week we had a snowstorm here, and it snowed heavier in some parts of Indiana than other parts of Indiana. This app comes in handy just to go on, look at what the weather is in certain parts of the area, and people just don't think about it like that. But I absolutely do, because that gives me an idea how long it's going to take me to get there. Should I leave a little earlier? If it's 1 inch of snow here, if I'm going 2 hours away, it could be 3 inches of snow there. The roads might not be salted or cleared as well. So I may have to leave a little earlier than I would originally if it was a sunny day. So I always use my weather app for that, if that makes sense. And I use this. This is an app that We Go Look. Some of you may be familiar with it. What it is it's like a field inspection app where I talk to a lot of notaries that are just starting off and they're running around doing a lot of assignments all over the state. And sometimes when you do an assignment and you make an arrangement with someone to do an assignment, you may not get the fee that you want. And the assignment is in an area you might not be familiar with. But with this app, if you have this app and you become a vendor, or not a vendor, but a affiliate with this particular company, you can go on, put in a zip code for where you're going, and they can have little field inspection things for you to do, like go take a picture of a house, go take a picture of I did a lot of these assignments. Go take a picture of a motorcycle. Go take a picture of the front and back of a house. They don't pay a whole lot, but what does happen is if you are doing a closing in an area you're not familiar with, or if you in an area that or a closing that you want to do. Oh,
Frank, out of the stairs.
Oh, wait just a second. I got somebody I got to mute. Just a second. Sorry. Got it. Okay. If you're in an area that you check a closing and it's below what your average fee is, and you say, hey, you know what? I hope there's a way I can make a little bit more money on this closing. Well, you can go into this app, put in a zip code of where the closing's at, and then pick up a couple of little field inspections that will just bump up. I mean, that's just working smarter. You're in the area anyway. That just helps you work smarter, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense to you, where you can pick this up. Whereas We Go Look, I've used this several times in my career. Another one, of course, Google Maps. Google Maps work very well. And I know some of you may say, well, I have a car that has a mapping system in it. If you have a car, a newer model car, bought it after 2015, most of those cars have some type of mapping system in it. It's always good to have either a Google mapping system, or another mapping system, just maps on your Waze is another one to have on it, because it can give you different ways to get to a place, especially if you have a lot of traffic. I think Waze will help you get to a place that goes around the traffic. Google Maps also helps you with that. We have a town here in Indiana, Zionsville, and I don't know what the city planners were thinking, but they have 2 streets named the exact same thing. So whenever I go there, I have to use 2 mapping systems to figure out which street is the one I'm supposed to be on. So it's always good to have some other mapping system on your phone, on your smartphone. And I like Google Maps, and I like Waze. I have 3 mapping systems on my phone, and I use all 3 at different times. And I have here a Shop Savvy. A lot of people say, well, why would I have Shop Savvy here on a apps for notaries? And here's the reason why. When you're doing a lot of notary work and you're running and you're printing out all these documents, and it has happened to me. I've been a notary since 2003, but this has happened to me at the end of the month, like we're at the end of the month now. I print out documents and then I find, oh, I'm out of paper. All I need is 1 more ream of paper. So I run to the store, and of course you run to your box store, and of course the papers are at the highest price there are. With this particular app, what you can do is you can scan the barcode on the ream of paper, on the paper clips, or whatever you're buying, your notary supplies. It'll tell you exactly the price of that same item in all the stores around you and online. And the advantage that you have there is you can go to the cashier, the manager, and say, hey, do you price match? So if you're buying a ream of paper, for example, and the ream of paper is like $14, and you scan the barcode, and it says, well, the store down the street, the box store down the street, selling that same ream of paper for $7, which is half the price. They price match it, and you just saved yourself that money. So that is a great app. I've used that all the time, especially when I have those instances where I ran out of paper, ran out of clips, or I needed to scan something, or I can just use that barcode to scan that item and then have them price match. And believe it or not, all you have to do is ask, hey, do you price match? And you wouldn't believe how many stores will say, yes, we absolutely price match. And you just have to show them on your phone what the store down the road is selling that for. Also, if you're doing any type of general notary work or have the ambition to do any type of general notary work and make money doing general notary work, I highly recommend these two apps, Venmo or Zelle. Any way you can have the public get money into your account as fast as it can, I would highly recommend it. I take checks, cash, credit cards, Zelle, PayPal, Venmo, any way you can get them. And these are really good apps because they help get your money into your account fast and efficiently without all those fees associated with that. Now, what are we doing here? Oh, flashlight app. Most new phones come with a flashlight app. It works great. In fact, I use my flashlight app. This morning I had a notary assignment at 6:45 this morning. It was still dark. I wanted to be able to, when I pull up to somebody's house, be able to take out a light without one of those big police lights and use the flashlight on my phone and walk up the drive to make sure he sees me coming up at that time and make sure I'm not just I could it's just a safety thing for me. And also I use that in my car and when I'm walking up on drives. And I think there's so many multiple ways you can do it. I even use it, like I said, I've this morning had a 6:45 appointment that I had to get up for at about 5 a.m. and I didn't want to wake my wife. So I use my flashlight up to get up and walk around the house to make sure I know exactly where I'm going. So there's multiple uses you can use this app on, the flashlight app, and I would highly recommend notaries use that. Also, Citizen app. Some notaries may never heard of this, but this is an app that I use too. I'm a pretty big guy, but I also want to know what's going on in my local area. And I am more of a traditional notary, whereas I go out to different locations. I do have an office and I have people come to my office, but I'm more of a traditional notary that I go out to different locations and private residents and private offices and that type of thing. And the way you use the Citizen app tells you what's happening in your area, whereas if there's a police call, if there's a major crime, or if there's somewhere, if you're going into an area, sometimes I know a lot of notaries go out to areas that they're not familiar with. I kind of want to know what that area is. And sometimes the title companies or the people that are sending you out to an assignment will say you can only go to that location and that location only. But I use my Citizen app and in a way whereas I can tell if there's a major crime that's happening in an area and I don't feel comfortable going to that area, I may say, let's go to another area. And um, if the title company or if the person that assigned me or the law office that assigned me to that questioned me, I said, well, this is why I just got an alert. There's major crimes happening in that area. And for my safety, I moved it to my satellite office, which is a McDonald's or a Burger King or Panera Bread or something like that. Yes, John, I got up before 8:30. I did get up before 8:30. Sometimes I really like those early assignments because I can get those done early and there's a lot less traffic. Yeah, you can enter a zip code. In fact, with the Citizens app, I have been in areas and it tells me, okay, you're in this area, Daniel, and I guess it's like a locator. Okay, in this area, this is what happened. It'll give me an alert in that area whenever I don't have to put in a zip code or an address, or I can put in a zip code and an address, and it'll tell me what's going on in that particular area. But once you in that area, it'll give you an alert and say, hey, this was what happened in this area. And then it actually a lot of times shows the police cars in that area, and it shows a little video of what's happening in that area. So I use that Citizens app a lot when I go out. And I did use it this morning because I was out at the 645 one. So I wanted to know what was going on in that area when I was driving out there. Now I'm going to open it up for questions. If you have another app, I know I haven't mentioned Page Separator. Page Separator is another great app that you can use for like if you have a one tray printer, it differentiates between the long and short paper, and you can put all the short paper in, hit print, then put all the long paper in, hit print, and it'll show you, it'll do that. Page Separator, I didn't mention that. Also, Google Voice. Some people have 2 or 3 cell phones for their business. They have one cell phone for their business, one cell phone for their personal. And Google Voice is another app that's going to come on your phone, and it has a totally different number that you can select. And then when people call you, like if you wanted to have a business number, you'll know exactly this line is for business, this line is for my personal line. So I know there's a lot of other apps. Does anybody else want to give us an example of, or that's been out there for a while that you want to recommend an app? Now, I have to say, I don't get any type of kickbacks from any of those apps that I show. I just use those because they really helped me in my business over the last 21 years. So anybody has an app that they want to recommend at this time and tell us why, you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and say, hey, Daniel, I have an app that I would highly recommend that I use all the time. Or even questions about any of the apps I shared. No questions? Great. So I guess I covered all the apps that people kind of have an idea for, or kind of use now. So does everybody use those type of apps now? You can put yes in the comments or no in the comments. Some of them. Great. Hopefully I kind of sparked your interest on some of them. A lot of people don't use the Citizens app. I use the Citizens app all the time because I advertise that I do notary work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And most times with that, you don't get a whole lot of those early calls. The one I had this morning, the guy was taking off at 10 o'clock, and I had another appointment at 8:30. So I just told him we'd just do it early. So in that Citizens app comes in handy. So I don't think I have. Gayla says she used Notary Gadget and loves it. Do you want to say anything about that, Gayla? You can unmute yourself and tell us why you love it.
I love it because I can track everything from my miles, how many notary stamps that I use, like how many times I use my stamp. I track that. I track my miles. I track the company that calls me, how many times that I work for a certain company, especially at the end of the year, where it'll show me different reports in Notary Gadget to help me gauge and, kind of set up my own personal goals for the next year, or even the next month. So it has a lot of different things in Notary Gadget that I like.
And I love that, Gayla, because tracking is just, you can't fix anything that you don't track. You have to track everything that you do, especially your first 2 years. You have to track everything. And I love that you said that, because Kenyetta said she loves using Notary Gadget also. Yeah, because it really helps you with your tracking. If you're not tracking it, you're not gonna. It's just not gonna work. Your business is gonna. A good example. I track how much general notary work I get from this person, and how much. Not only that, the time of year that I get the work. And then that helps me make a whole year out marketing plan. Okay, this time of year, I'm going to market mostly toward attorneys that do estate planning that time of year. And then this time of year, I'll market more toward title companies because a lot of houses fly off the market. This time of year, I'm going to market more toward car dealerships that sells cars at this time of year. It's just, when you're tracking, you can really help your business.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of like bring up to everybody, that it's very important to track, because at first, like couple of months of when I started really doing, really taking this really seriously, I wasn't tracking. And then when I started going to the notary meetups and listening to different people that has been doing it longer than I have, I realized I was missing out on a lot of things. So with Notary Gadget, I was able to, when tracking everything, I track everything like my mileage, like how much it costs me to buy supplies, um, how many times I had to use ink, where can I, kind of trim different things. So it's very, very, very important to track everything, your maintenance, yeah, because we have to have a certain appearance when we go out on these notary assignments. They want us to make sure that we're dressed well, we're looking decent. So that costs money. So, just track everything. I'm tracking everything.
Awesome. Very good advice. Thank you so much, Gayla. And Gayla, you're out of Kokomo, Indiana, correct?
Yes, I am.
Great city of Kokomo. Thank you so much for adding that very valuable information, because I hear that all the time. It's going to be very good. Okay, I don't think there's any other questions. I'm going to move on to our guest speaker, which is, going to be, hopefully I don't butcher her last name, Betty Krachey. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Are you on, Betty?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine, Betty. Now, Betty is the NNA ambassador for the National Notary Association ambassador for Tennessee. She's been a notary for a long time, and I had a short conversation with her just this afternoon, and she is just fantastic. I mean, fantastic. I've been a fan of Betty's for a while. She's going to talk to us a little bit about biometrics. So, Betty, tell us a little bit about you, first of all.
Well, I'm a notary here in Tennessee, and I'm also an online notary. I've been an online notary since March of 2020.
So you do RON.
Yes.
Okay, and tell us about what exactly is biometrics?
No, they don't allow biometrics in Tennessee, but biometrics is where it's a form of identification for RON. If biometrics scans the signer's face and compares it to the photo ID they submitted.
So it's like instead of knowledge-based authentication for let's just go back. RON is remote online notarization. That's where Betty is in Tennessee, and you can notarize people where?
I can notarize for people anywhere they're located.
Yeah, so if somebody's in California, Betty can notarize for them if they have the right system, correct? Right, computer system.
Well, they have to pass the KBA. They don't have the option in Tennessee for biometrics, so they have to answer the KBA questions. They'll have 2 minutes to answer those, and they can only get one wrong out of the 5 in order to proceed. And if they fail twice, they can't even move forward for 24 hours.
And let's tell them exactly what KBA is for someone who's sitting under a rock who hasn't looked at the remote online notarization. Like somebody Lana just asked, what is KBA? So let's peel this back a little bit.
Okay, so when I get a request for a notarization, they have to go through an ID process. And in Tennessee, the only option they have is KBA, the knowledge base authentication. And that pulls from people's credit reports and public records, and it generates 5 multiple choice questions that they'll have 2 minutes to answer those questions, and they can only get 1 wrong out of the 5 in order to proceed. And they will have 2 chances, but if they fail twice, they can't go through for 24 hours. And like if somebody's young and they don't have a credit history, they can't generate questions for KBA, so they can't even do an online notarization. And I recently, last month when we had that bad snowstorm, I had a signer who was blind and he couldn't do KBA because his computer couldn't read him the questions and the answers off quick enough for him to even pass in 2 minutes. So he wasn't able to do an online notarization. I had to send him to a notary in Florida who can use biometrics.
So, and something to add with the knowledge-based authentication or KBA, when you're sitting in Tennessee, the person is, for example, sitting in California or New York or whatever, their computer, you're at your computer goes blank, and knowledge-based authentication or knowledge-based questions are only seen by the signer, correct?
Correct.
And one thing to keep in mind, if I'm correct, they are timed. They don't have all day. They can't go online and look up the answers.
No, they have 2 minutes to answer. And see, a lot of times people's credit reports are wrong, like my own credit report is wrong. So a lot of times people, they're answering the questions correctly, but they're still failing. And the reason they're failing is because the information on their public record or their credit report is wrong. I mean, that happens all the time. Like my credit report says I live in Texas. I've never even been to Texas.
So what is the advantage of going from knowledge-based authentication to them looking at questions and trying to answer them to biometrics?
Well, biometrics is going to be more inclusive. So biometrics is going to scan their face, and also it's safer than KBA. KBA, like your wife could probably answer your questions and get them correct and pass KBA. And like a friend, and then so many people share everything on social media. Somebody could go on social media and figure out somebody's KBA questions if they really wanted to commit fraud. And so biometrics, I think, is safer than KBA. You can't fake somebody's face. Now, I mean, they could use a fake ID, but usually the computer catches that, and still the notary, it's up to the notary to compare the ID also to the person that they're meeting with online.
How do you think, I know right now you're lobbying for allowing biometrics. How do you think biometrics will affect, because I know right now, in order for me to open my phone, I'm using biometrics, it has to do a face ID.
Yep.
How do you think that's going to affect the notary community in the next coming years?
Well, if we were allowed to do biometric, I'm not saying to get rid of KBA. If we had biometrics as an option, it would keep more online notary work here in Tennessee. Since October, I've turned away like 94 people that I've sent mainly to Florida.
And the reason for sending them to Florida, because they do allow biometrics.
Correct. And a lot of times I can talk to somebody and I can tell if they can pass, if KBA is going to be a problem. Like when we have car shows in town, I do a lot of bill of sales for younger people. And if they don't have credit history, or like if they buy and sell a lot of cars, they can't remember all the cars they've owned over the years. So they're going to fail KBA usually. And I already know not to even try to do the online notarization. I just send them to a colleague in Florida or another state who allows biometrics.
Do you think right now with the KBA for remote online notaries, they have to pay for what they call tokens, right? for each
No, I
question?
don't use Doc Verify. The platforms I use, no, I don't have to pay for that.
Because yeah, some platforms do have that, correct?
I know, yes, some of them do, but no, the ones I use don't. No,
Do you think
and KBA does not affect the signer's credit report.
do you think that it'll be cheaper if we do do like a nationwide as an option biometrics as compared to KBA?
No, it'll be the same price.
So Cheryl wants to know, what platforms do you use?
I use Signex, Notary Cam, Notarize, which is Proof Now, Pavaso, Stavvy. I can't remember all the ones I use. Stavvy, Blend. I think that's about it.
Does
And
I know
ClearSign, Nexus ClearSign, I use that.
does in Tennessee, I don't know if this is true in all states, does the platforms you use, do they require you only to use their platforms?
No, Signex is my platform, and I can use Notarize's platform as an independent notary here in Tennessee. And in Stavvy, some title companies, they're on Stavvy, and I'm one of their preferred notaries. So if they do a closing on that platform, they use me, but I don't have to pay for that platform. The
Yeah,
only
and
one I pay for is Notarize.
okay.
Not Notarize, I'm Signex. Now I have to
Signex.
pay for the stamps that I use on Notarize.
Okay. What Lana wants to know, what are the application are they subscription based?
Yes, Signex is.
And also, why do you use so many different platforms?
Well, because some of them are for the title companies, and that's the platforms they prefer. I just had a title company want me to go with crap, I can't remember the name of it. DocuSign. And I'm not on DocuSign, so I'm gonna start using DocuSign now because the title company's paying for that and they want me to do closings on DocuSign. DocuSign's really expensive for independent notary.
Any platform that you can recommend over if somebody's just getting into say, hey, I want to do remote online notarization? Any platforms that are, would you say, what would be the easiest platform to use for somebody just coming in?
Notarize or Notary Cam. Notary Cam has excellent training. And if you're on Notary Cam's real estate side, you can use their independent side and they'll waive the $99 fee. And also I like Signex, and Signex, if you're a new notary, they provide the digital certificate and the e-seal. But that's only to use on their platform. If you use another platform, you still have to get a digital certificate.
So you're saying it depends on that notary's I don't know, skill set, what platform would be best for them?
Yes.
Okay.
Qualia is another one I use, and that's the title company's platform, and then I'm on the platform, and when they have a signing, they let me know, and then I'm the notary they use on that platform.
Excellent. Excellent.
Like the only platforms I use where I bring my own signers is Signex and Notarize Proof.
Okay. Good. Good. And you are a big advocate for the biometrics right now in your
Yes.
state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, I was going to ask, what can people do to help if they're saying, hey, I'm kind of interested in that biometrics thing. Here's Betty's contact information. If you wanted to contact Betty for more information about biometrics.
You spelled my email wrong.
What's your email?
There's no E in Smoky.
Oh, is this SMOKEY?
No, it's SMOKY.
Oh, let me change that. Hang on a second. I'm going to put that in chat. Please disregard my misspelling on the email. You can contact Betty, and they put that in chat. Betty Krachey at, that's BETTY at SMOKY.
Yep, MTNNOTARY.
Huh. We got Betty's email address in chat. Hopefully you can see that, Betty, and that looks great in
Yep,
chat.
that's
And her contact information about the biometrics. And she's really advocating for that. And I could see that as being something that's coming, because right now you can't even turn your phone on. Well, I can't turn my phone on without it putting it up to my face. And I think that's a great security feature, especially if you have like credit cards or all your contact information. I just got recently hacked with Facebook. So, and if anybody sees me on Facebook, that's not me. They hacked my Facebook page. But it's good to know that there's other options out there. And I think the biometrics is going to really have a deep effect on our notary world. And to help Betty out with her quest to get biometrics as an option in Tennessee, here you can contact, this is her, is that the Secretary of State's office?
yes.
Send a letter. Send it from all over the country to this. Hey, we need biometrics in Tennessee. That will start the campaign. That's Betty's contact information. Again, the email address, I just put it in chat. Just take the E out of Smoky Mountain Notary. And then that's our contact information there. But send letters to help with the biometrics. If this is a topic that you're very interested in, if you're a Ron person and you run into the same thing with people who can't pass the KBA, and you say, well, is there an option? There is biometrics, and that's coming down the pike, and I think it'll make things easier for us notaries. Would you think that biometrics will make things easier for us, Betty?
Yes, it'll save time. It'll keep more of our signers in the state.
Yeah, and currently it helps people with disabilities.
Yes.
Who like the gentleman you're talking about, who's blind and he's listening in for the question, and he didn't get enough time because it's a timed event, and people that's deaf too.
Yeah, I've worked with other like handicapped people, and they're aware of what they're signing and they're coherent. It's just they get stressed easy, and it just, when they have to answer the questions, they're just stressed out, and it takes them so long to answer them, they just can't get through the KBA. And then also I have older people that have memory issues. KBA pulls from like 30 years back.
Wow.
And then people in the military, they move a lot. They can't remember all their addresses, or they're young and they have no credit history to pull from. And then I also have, like, for real estate deals, and people, they're in other countries, but they have property and businesses here in the US, and they can't do KBA because they don't have a social security number. And that's another reason I use other platforms, because Notarize will pull from an EIN number when some of my other platforms won't. So if I know that ahead of time, I can take them to Notarize and it'll pull from the EIN number and generate questions, when some of the other platforms will only use a social security number.
Wow, so many reasons why biometrics is so important to our industry. And Cheryl asked, is there a way to find out what states has biometrics already?
Yeah, Florida, New York, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Montana, Wyoming, New Jersey, Louisiana, Utah, and Oregon have biometrics now.
Did you get that, Cheryl? Can you repeat that again, Betty?
Yeah, Florida, New York, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and Illinois just started online notarizations in January, Montana, Wyoming, New Jersey, Louisiana, Utah, and Oregon.
And if you haven't heard your state in there, Betty will probably be a good contact person. I think it's just a matter of time before they do it in Tennessee, and she's on a fast track of getting that done. Did you get that, Cheryl? Yes, Cheryl's got it. Can you recommend, Lana, I want to know, can you recommend an app for checking state ID?
Well, I use Notary Act, and when I'm doing in-person closings, I can scan their ID and it populates all their information right in the app. And I have met with one person and their ID, when I scanned the back, it did not match what populated on my app. And so anyways, he did end up having another ID and I still did the notarization, but it was just what populated on my app was not what was on exactly on the ID. And usually it is.
And let me ask you if you can spell it. Did you want her to spell the name of the app, Notary Act?
Yes, Notary Act.
That's Notaryact.
I put it in the
Yes.
chat.
Betty's put it in the chat. She's SMN, Smoky Mountain Notary. Any other questions for Betty? We got about 3 minutes. So any other question for Betty? Any questions related to any applications? Betty, did you see any applications or apps that I went over that you say, well, hey, I got this other app that I'm using that's fantastic. Do you have another app that you use?
No, but I know I downloaded that scanner app you were talking about. I was using Cam Scanner and I'm getting to where I don't like that one. I hardly ever use the scanning apps, but
And that was called Cam Scam?
Cam Scan, but I downloaded the Tiny Docs, the one you were talking about.
Yes. Yes,
Cam
yes, yes.
Scanners, unless you pay for it, it has a lot of ads.
Oh, no, I don't need that.
No.
Don't need any more ads in my life.
I don't use it a lot, but like the other day, I notarized a document for a lady and she was telling me about how she's gonna go home and scan it. And I go, well, I'll just scan it right here from my phone, and I use a Cam Scanner.
So easy and convenient.
Yep, I'll use Tiny Doc next time.
And Tiny Docs works very good. And I like Tiny Doc because you can do it in color or you can do it in black and white. And I love doing it because my particular notary stamp is red. It is stamps in red, so it always stands out. So like that. See if we have any other questions. If we don't have any more questions, may end up, and just see. Oh, hopefully, my illustration is not making anybody dizzy. My special effects there. Any other questions on biometrics, on apps? No, I don't think so. So I just want to thank everybody that participated. I want to definitely thank Gayla and Kokomo for giving us her input on Notary Gadget. And I'll definitely want to thank my special guest, Betty, NNA ambassador over in Tennessee, working hard to get biometrics done, and it will be done. There, it always starts with us notaries to push that ball down the road on what we want to do legislation wise. Hopefully I'll see everybody soon at one of the events that I mentioned, definitely on the Notary Mastermind Cruise in November out of New Orleans. Hopefully I'll see you there. But, and also at the NNA conference. One app that I didn't mention it's not really an app, but it's something that notaries, especially new notaries, even seasoned notaries use, is the NNA hotline. That's a fantastic tool in your toolbox to call the NNA hotline when you have questions and that pending questions that you just want to get an opinion on. So I would highly recommend the NNA hotline. hopefully I will see you. And yeah, John, I'll probably see you next week, John. And see everyone at the next meetup. So I'm going to give you back your time. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this and hopefully see you on our next meetup, which is Thursday, March 14th. Hopefully you have a great day. Let me stop this share. Have a great day and have a great evening. Thank you.